So it's been, I don't know, a little over 12 hours at the time of recording this since the Washington Commanders defeated the Detroit Lions in emphatic fashion, 45-31, to move on to the conference championship game, and the Lions season is over. So this is just going to be a as close to an instant reaction as you can get, because I mean, there's been a lot of reactions online. If you are a Lions fan, you've probably seen all of the melting down posts from Lions Twitter over the past 12 hours. If you are a fan of another team, especially if you're a fan of the Packers or Vikings, you have probably been loving the last 12 hours because Lions fans were dunking on you all of wildcard weekend for your performances, and the Lions, I guess, wanted to add to that collection because the NFC North, they just had after a historic regular season, they just had a historic collapse in the playoffs. So now begins a very long offseason that is going to be filled with probably a lot of change for the Lions, at least as far as we know them. Because obviously they have their core team, they have their core locked up for the most part. Aiden Hutchinson's extension looms large, but aside from that, the Lions have a lot of their key personnel locked up. At least the personnel that takes the field every week. Obviously, decisions with the coaching staff loom large, mainly in that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are two of the hottest head coaching candidates this offseason, which, I mean, we'll see how much that performance against the Commanders will affect that. I imagine for Johnson, not much. For Glenn, maybe, but we'll talk about it. So this is going to be an offseason in which the Lions, look, they still have one of the best rosters in football, and they will continue to add to it. I believe they have the 28th pick in the draft, regardless of what happens today, just based on the fact that they were the number one team in the NFL in the regular season. So they're going to have the worst pick of all of the divisional round losers. So that's not great. But Brad Holmes has proven that he can find talent in the draft, so we'll see what he's able to do. We'll see how many free agents the Lions bring back. They have key decisions to make on the likes of Kevin Zeitler, Carlton Davis, Derek Barnes, just to name a few. But overall, looking at this game specifically, this just sucked. Now, if you watched my Commanders and Lions Beginner's Guide preview video that I think went up on Thursday, you'll know that I highlighted the Commanders having a key advantage in a major area that I was really hoping would not rear its head. But for another, the Commanders have no pressure on them. They have no expectations. They are fully playing with house money. Coming into this season, they were not expected to be in the playoffs. They got to the playoffs. They were not favored in that game. They won. They have exceeded every expectation placed upon them. But with championship aspirations comes a lot of expectations, and it's tough to live up to them. So you might see in the early stages of this game especially, the Commanders are going to be the much looser team. They are going to be playing completely free. Again, they have nothing at risk here. There is no expectation on them. The Lions, meanwhile, they might look a little timid, a little bit tighter in the early stages at least. And what happened? The Commanders, they played loose, they played free all night. They literally had nothing holding them back, and it showed. They just played really good football. The Lions, meanwhile, despite the fact that they generated a lot of explosive plays, especially on the ground, they had a great day running the football, as I anticipated and as a lot of people anticipated. They made way too many mistakes, and they got way too cute. Way too cute. Again, Ben Johnson, one of the hottest head coaching candidates in the league over the past 2 years, but he has shown this tendency that he gets too cute sometimes with his play calling. I cannot for the life of me fathom the decision making that when you're down 10 points in the fourth quarter in a game that you've been able to move the ball relatively easily all day, why is Jameson Williams throwing a pass? Obviously, we could talk about the fact that J-Mo should have just not thrown that ball, and Dan Campbell referenced that after the game, but why are you calling a play where Jameson Williams is throwing the ball at all? But that was just a theme, right? Is Ben Johnson gets too cute with the play calling. The Lions, they were moving the ball when they weren't getting in their own way, but you know, this is obviously going to come down to turnovers. Jared Goff turns the ball over 4 times. Williams has a 5th turnover, but it's not so much the turnover specifically. It's when they happened, where they happened, and how the Commanders took advantage of it. So the first one, a fumble inside the red zone on a strip sack where Graham Glasgow just gets beat. But it's a 3rd and 1 and you're coming out empty. Why? Just run the football. Second one, and this is where things really got bad and where a lot of Lions fans had to look inwards and be like, oh no, we're in trouble. The pick six. Jared Goff airmails a pass to Tim Patrick, and I don't even know what to say, man. It's just inexcusable. He throws it way too high. It looked like it was just a horrible throw. Horrible throw, gets returned for a touchdown. On the run back, Goff gets popped in the head, and he has to go be evaluated for a concussion, which forced Teddy Bridgewater into the game for a drive. Third turnover, Goff in the end zone at the end of the first half. Just an underthrown ball. If he puts a little bit more air on it, J-Mo has a step on the DB in the end zone. But you could also criticize J-Mo's effort on that play. He didn't really attack the ball, and the result is an interception. And then, obviously, the Williams interception happens later in the game in the fourth quarter. And then to end the game, Goff, you're down 2 scores with like 30 seconds left. You're just trying to score. So that one, whatever. But the strip sack and the pick six in the first half turned this game on its head. So obviously that sucks, but this was also a game in which, for the first time since probably 2021 that I can say this, the Lions got horrifically outcoached. I talked about Ben Johnson and how he gets too cute. Dan Campbell, I don't want to put too much blame on because at the end of the day, it's not like he calls the plays, but it is his job to have his team executing at the highest level, which they weren't. But Aaron Glenn, this is a tricky conversation. Now, it's tough to put too much blame on Glenn because on the one hand, you have to look at everything that's going against him. The injuries have just been piling up, as has been well documented. The Lions are relying on practice squad fodder at this point, or were relying on practice squad. Oh, man. But Jaden Daniels torched them all day. Terry McLaurin torched them. De'Ami Brown had a nice game. The ground game was having way too much success. I highlighted in the preview that the Commanders' running backs on traditional runs had been averaging under 3 yards a carry since their Week 14 bye. What happened? They had like 180 rushing yards in this game. Unacceptable. But this is where we get to Aaron Glenn's game plan, which didn't work and quite frankly was pretty horrible because Jaden Daniels all season has been fantastic against the blitz. Fantastic. So what did Aaron Glenn do? He blitzed him and played a lot more, not necessarily zero, but he definitely had a lot of one-on-one situations for his corners and for his linebackers covering the tight ends, and it didn't work. And it drove me insane. We know how much the Commanders love their screens. They love their underneath passes. And the amount of times the Lions would line up 2 DBs to cover 3 people. Why are you doing that? You're just giving them a free 10 yards, or on the case of the Terry McLaurin touchdown in the first half, a free touchdown because Terry didn't have to do anything. He just had to run in a straight line. And while the Lions did relatively well on 3rd down to force the Commanders into 4th down situations, the 4th down defense was not good. They had a stop on the first drive in which Mariota came in for a QB sneak, and there was something weird happened on that snap. The Commanders didn't execute that play well. Lions defense was ready. They jumped it. Great, you get a stop early. They didn't stop them on 4th down the rest of the game. Not to mention the 12 men on the field penalty on a 4th and 2, which might be the worst coaching blunder this team has had since maybe the double timeout against the Bears on Thanksgiving a few years ago. Horrible. And again, not to play the what if game too much, but you have to wonder what this game would have looked like if Amik Robertson didn't break his arm on like the second play from scrimmage on defense. That sucked. And he goes down, Vildor comes in. He had a nice play on a 3rd and 10 on one of the early drives. I think it was the Commanders' second drive to get the defense off the field, but it's just not the same. And the unfortunate thing is, especially if you're a Commanders fan, you'll probably hear the what if game from Lions fans for a while. You'll probably hear a lot of excuses, and you shouldn't have to, because the team that deserved to win this game won. The Washington Commanders fully deserved to win this game. They were the better team, and quite frankly, they looked like the team that was this powerhouse 1 seed, whereas the Lions looked like some scrappy underdog team that was riding a good offense to try to stay in it. It's also really unfortunate because I made 3 straight videos kind of essentially previewing the divisional round. I had the beginner's guide to the possible opponents, and then the instant reaction to the Commanders' win over the Bucks, and then obviously the beginner's guide that you guys saw on Thursday. So this video, yeah, I mean, in terms of quality, is probably worse, so I apologize for that. But again, it's just a quick one, so I don't know. We'll see what content I make later in the week. I'll probably be back with a more detailed breakdown of what the offseason holds for the Lions, the biggest questions facing them. And if you guys want it, you can let me know. I can do a beginner's guide to the conference championships and break down those 2 games. Again, just let me know. I do want to say, though, thank you so much for the support on the videos over the last week and a half. I know you guys probably see these videos and you see like 300 views, 400 views, whatever, and 70-something subscribers, and you think, okay, yeah, whatever, that doesn't really matter. That's pretty irrelevant, insignificant, all that. But it means a lot to me, and we've gained probably 7 subscribers in the course of those 3 videos. So, I mean, that's really fun, and I think those 3 videos have combined for over 1,000 views at this point. The last video got a ton of comments, so I really appreciate all the support, and I'm gonna try to keep making content somewhat consistently in the off season here so that we can push on to get to 100 subscribers as the first sort of mini milestone, and after that, we'll just see where this goes. But that's gonna be it for this video. Again, thank you so much for the support lately, and if you're a subscriber from back when I did gaming videos, thank you so much for sticking with me. That'll be it. Like this video if you enjoyed it, or if you're a Commanders fan celebrating the win, congratulations, have fun in the conference championships. Wishing you the best. I will be cheering for you, and subscribe so that you don't miss any content coming up. Cheers.